week, we are learning what the key takeaway is for Europe's recovery and why that matters to where you should invest next. We heard the ECB chief on Monday say basically Europe needs to focus its investment on technology, whether that's digital technology or green technology.
It's necessary because Europe has been lagging behind. When you look at the digital investment in particular, or the knowledge economy, there is quite a bit of ground to cover if Europe wants to be at least on a par with the United States, for instance.
Joining me now for some more insight into Europe and investment is our international editor at Stansberry Research, Kim Iskyan. You have just moved to Europe from Asia. Talk to me about the differences you've observed between how easy it is to use technology between those two places.
Well, I think anecdotally, Jessica, there's no question living in Singapore, where I was living, is technologically one of the most advanced countries in the world by far. Ireland is lovely in many respects, but technology is not one of its fortes. Just getting Wi-Fi, getting a cell phone SIM card that works is really pretty difficult here. Things are so much slower. The technology just isn't as strong. I think though that you can explain some of that just because so much of what we see in Asia is new, right? Mm-hmm. If you're building something from scratch, if you're Thailand, if you're Singapore, if you're so many parts of China, you're building stuff for the first time.
Yeah, they call it leapfrogging, right? Where essentially Asia has been able to leapfrog a lot of the technology that the US and the Europeans have come up with.
Exactly, and Europe has all this legacy infrastructure that they can't just bin. They can't just toss it, so they have to build on top of it oftentimes, and that creates something that's much slower, much less efficient. So I think, Europe has a long way to go to even be in the same arena as much of Asia when it comes to technology.
So if you are sitting in a central bank or in any bank in Europe right now, and you hear the central bank chief say, yeah, we need to pour money into technology, how big of a dollar figure or a euro figure are we talking, and how quickly can it get there?
When we speak of Europe, it's easy to sometimes fudge it and think that decisions are made on a European level, kind of like they are in the United States. And really, it couldn't be further from the truth, right? Because Europe, as we talk about it, the EU is 27 member states. To get anything real done, 27 member states have to all agree on it. I mean, it's like herding cats.
Yeah, I just can't get over that, right? 27 people have to be unanimous for anything to happen in Europe from what they call a fiscal policy standpoint, right? Which would be putting money into people's pockets, quite literally, like we've seen in the United States.
Exactly. So when we talk about any sort of big European fund or whatever, I don't know, I'd really wonder how that would happen. I think also I think one of the traditional distinctions, which is still very true between the United States and Europe, is that in the US, innovation is so much more from the ground up. And in Europe, it just doesn't work as easily, simply because doing business in this part of the world isn't quite as easy in terms of the regulatory environment, in terms of how you get things done. So the tendency is to try to push it from the top down, which just isn't as effective.
So, Kim, when we talk about Europe upping its ante and investing more in technology region-wide, what kinds of companies are likely to benefit?
In Europe, when we look at 5G, Nokia is kind of the company that's been behind for a long time. They've changed their CEO earlier this year, and it's really one of only two companies in Europe that is doing anything in the arena of 5G. And with all the pressure that Huawei has come under, one of the ironies is that the West doesn't really have its answer to Huawei. And Nokia it's not an answer, but it's part of an answer. And the shares have underperformed for a long time. And if Europe is really going to build out 5G and not use Huawei, Nokia has to be one of the key beneficiaries of that.
And actually, Christine Lagarde mentioned specifically that she wants to see the regulatory structure encourage startups in Europe, but it sounds like that's a pretty tall order from your observation.
You know, I guess you have to work within the constraints that you have. And of course, to say this is what Europe needs to do, that's fantastic. They have the right sort of idea. Executing on that, I don't know, we'll see. I can't imagine it would be, it's a super tanker that you can only change direction of by a few degrees every 10 years.
All right, Kim Iskyan there, our international editor, coming to us live from Europe. Thanks so much for your perspective. And if you want to see much more of his writing, we'll connect you to American Consequences, where he is a regular contributor, or you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And of course, on YouTube. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.